All right, one of my favorite sports to watch at the Olympic Games is track and field, and it's a popular watch by many Americans. But this year's Team USA roster is primed to bring home some gold medals from the 2024 Summer Games in Paris. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a track and field preview. We're going to do it with one of my favorite people to talk about the sport with. Now, everyone, you know him as the beat writer for the Brooklyn Nets, but this man has covered the sport for many years. His name is Brian Lewis of the New York Post, and he joins me now. Brian, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Last time I saw you, we were sitting next to each other at Summer League talking basketball.
Yes.
Now we get to talk some track and field, which you and I do often off camera, so we've done this before. And Brian, I want to talk to you about this because heading into these games, let's take a look at the Team USA roster. How do you like the talent of the U.S. track and field squad compared to previous Olympics, and do you expect the Americans to have a good showing in Paris?
Yes, I do expect them to have a good showing. Listen, the U.S. generally wins more golds and more medals than everybody else in the Olympics, and that's largely because of the track and field. Some years are better than others, but this year profiles to be very good. And I think you've got, I don't want to say a passing of the torch, but I mean, you've got some really young, really good talent that should be good for a while.
Yeah, it should be, and I think that's what's exciting for a lot of people at these games. Talking about one of the young talents in the game, right? Sha'Carri Richardson, got to talk about her. She missed the Tokyo Olympics, but now she's a favorite for the 100-meter dash in Paris. How significant is this moment for her, and what does she need to do to secure her first Olympic title?
I mean, I think it's hugely significant for her. Look, she missed, you're right, not just Tokyo, but the 22 World Championship, where she had a legitimate chance to win there, too. I mean, it's hard to need more motivation in an Olympics, but I think this is a huge deal for her. She just has to stay focused. If she's focused, she has a legitimate chance to win this.
Yeah, and she's just so talented with the blazing speed that she has, and it's all about focus here. Now, we talk about an athlete who's focused, Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. She's been invincible in the 400-meter hurdles with 2 Olympic golds. She's got a bunch of world records just at the age of 23. What do you make of her form heading into these Olympic Games, and do you see anybody in the world challenging her for gold in the 400-meter hurdles?
I don't see anybody challenging her. Maybe anything, a hurdle could challenge her. But as long as she doesn't hit a hurdle, I don't see a world where she doesn't win as long as she's healthy.
Yeah, she's been so. Have you been impressed with how dominant she's been, Brian? Because, like you said, it doesn't seem like there's a person that could stop her. You said a hurdle is what could stop her. Have you been impressed with her dominance that we've seen from her over the last couple of years?
It's been staggering. I mean, I think the coaching change helped, and she already was on her way to becoming the best in the world. But that switch changed her from the heir apparent as best in the world to overwhelmingly the best in history.
Yeah.
She's been spectacular.
Yeah, she has been. She's on a historic pace right now. We'll see if she cleans up and captures some more golds here at the Olympic Games. On to the men's side of things, Noah Lyles. He's aiming to win both the 100-meter race and 200-meter races in Paris. No American man has done that in 20 years. What do you think his chances of achieving this feat are, and who do you see as his main competitors in both of these events?
I mean, he hasn't lost in almost 3 years, right? So I don't see him starting now. He's stronger in the 200 than he is in the 100. Maybe Bednarik, maybe Knighton, although it's possible that Knighton might be a year or 2 or 3 away from surpassing him. But I do think Noah Lyles ends up with a gold here, actually. I think he ends up with several golds, but I think the 200, he has a better chance than he does in the 100.
All right, so liking him more in the 200 than the 100, but he is gunning for both. We'll see if he can get that done. When you talk about track and field, you can't talk about it without talking about the rivalry between the American and Jamaican sprinters. That's always a major storyline in these last couple of Olympics. How do you assess the dynamics of this rivalry, Brian, going into Paris between the U.S. and Jamaica?
Well, I mean, it's a rivalry, and there's a lot of back and forth. I do think it's a healthy rivalry. I mean, I think both sides respect the other's ability. Noah Lyles will tend to troll them frequently because that's just his personality, and he's on top right now, so he can do that. And they love to get on his case. But I think it's a great rivalry, and I think it pushes both of them forward.
Are you as intrigued in the rivalry on the women's side of things because there's some injuries for the Jamaican women? Do you find that part of it still interesting? You mentioned the men, but what about on the women's side of things?
I'm not as interested in the women's rivalry since Sonia Richards-Ross stopped running.
Yeah.
Only because I know how much the Jamaicans hated her. So that was kind of amusing and funny. But yes, you're right. The Jamaicans the team is much more diluted on the women's side just purely through injury, not a matter of talent, but a matter of being able to stay on the track and stay healthy. Yeah. But I listen, in the 4x1, they're always going to be capable. So you can never sit and say, well, that the Jamaicans won't be competitive.
All right.
They'll always be competitive. They'll be competitive in the 100. They'll be competitive in the 200. They'll be competitive in the 4x1, probably not so much in the 4x4. But there's still a rivalry there.
Yeah, no doubt about that, and it's going to be intriguing to see. And like you said, if you're on the U.S. side of things, you can't sleep on the Jamaicans at all in any event in these games. Now, I got to ask you this. Who are some of the breakout stars that people should be watching for on Team USA? Are there any under-the-radar athletes who could surprise us that aren't the big names here in Paris?
Oh, well, see, now when you were saying breakout star, I wasn't limiting that to Team USA because to me, a breakout star, since we were talking about Jamaica, I thought Kashane Thompson this is a guy that came out of nowhere. So, he's a breakout star. But if you were specifically looking for Team USA, I'd say Quincy Wilson. I don't think Quincy Wilson has a reasonable chance to win the 400. It's not impossible. He's exceptionally talented, so he could win it. But I would think that would be a huge upset. But I think he has a fantastic chance to come away with gold in the 4x4. And he'd be the youngest man, unless I'm mistaken, he'd be the youngest man from any country to win Olympic gold since 1948.
Wow.
So that in and of itself, to me, makes him a breakout star. I don't care whether it's on a relay or whether it's not. When you come back to high school with gold medal wrapped around your neck, that's a breakout star.
Yeah, I think so, Brian. You come back to high school with a gold medal around your neck. I don't feel like anybody can say anything to you for quite a while. I wish I had done that in high school. That would have been a little different. But we'll see. Quincy Wilson, that's somebody for American track and field fans to watch at these games. Keep your eye on him. Let's talk about this race in particular, Brian, when you look at the women's 100-meter dash, where an American woman has not won the race since 1996. Can Sha'Carri Richardson outpace competitors like Shericka Jackson and Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce competing in her last Olympic Games here to end the long American drought in this race? Do you see it happening for Sha'Carri?
Well, yeah. She set the championship record at the World Championship last year at 10:65. She put down a world leader at 10:71, in the Olympic trials. So, yes, I thought she could win it from a while ago. I thought that even before Jackson pulled up weeks ago in Turkey, and with Lane Thompson out now with the Achilles, I don't want to say I'm sure of it, but I'm even more confident of it than I was.
Yeah.
Because of those injuries, because of that attrition that we talked about on the Jamaican side.
Yeah, no, with those injuries on the Jamaican side, she should be the favorite here. But you're right, nothing is locked in stone, but she should be the favorite heading into the race. Now, the men's 100-meter showdown, it's a much stronger field here, I would look at, than the women, right, in terms of who's healthy and available. So you've got Noah Lyles, you've got Oblique Seville, and the reigning Olympic champion Marcel Jacobs here. Who do you like to take home the gold in this race?
Well, again, you're correct. The field is deep. It's talented, it's deep, it's so good that I'd actually be shocked if Jacobs medals, and he's the defending champ. So you're absolutely right. This field is deep, and Noah's not quite as strong in this as he is in the 200. I mean, Noah's in the form of his life. 981 was his personal best, so he's running the best he's ever run. I don't know that I can say he's running the best of anybody in the field, though. I come back to Thompson. I mean, he came out of nowhere in their trials. I mean, only the most hardcore fans really knew who he was. And he put down a 982 in the heats, a 984 in the semis, and a 977 in the final, right, in the Jamaican trials. I mean, that's the fastest time in the world since 2022. So if I had to pick somebody, I'd say he's running better than anybody else. Does he have the body of work that Noah's had? No. Has he had the season that Noah's had? No. But right now, he seems to be running the fastest.
And sometimes that's all that matters, right, Brian? At the time that you're running the race, this now being the Olympics, are you running the fastest? Maybe you haven't been in the best form or the best season before that, but are you running the fastest right now? That's what's going to matter in the 100-meter dash, so we will see who has it. Granted, Noah Lyles, as you said, running as good as he has ever been, even though the 100-meter dash is not his strong suit. Last thing for me, Brian, and, you know, this is the fan favorite to close out things for track and field. We've got to talk about the relay teams in the 4x100. Now, for the Americans, always high expectations. However, we've seen past disappointments for Team USA. How much pressure is there on the men and the women's relay teams to bring home the gold in this race, and do you believe that they will get it done?
It's crazy to think. U.S. men haven't won since 2000. I don't think they've medaled since 04. But see, that's what sloppiness and drop batons and DQs will do for you. So I'm still scared of Jamaica because, you know, when they took third at the Worlds, they didn't have Thompson. All right. So the men's race may very well come down to whichever anchor runs faster, right? Presuming that Lyles and Thompson are the anchors. Now, the women, that's a different story. I think they're running against themselves. I mean, they beat everybody by almost a second, right? Almost a second at the World Relays. That's an insane margin. And they just have more healthy 100-meter runners than Jamaica. And the women historically do not shoot themselves in the proverbial foot with DQs and drops and zone lane violations, all these sort of things. They've typically been more crisp and more professional with it. So I think the women are running against themselves. I think the men are running against Jamaica. That's the difference. That's going to be interesting to see. And for both teams, as everybody knows, if you're a fan of track and field, it is about execution, execution, execution in the 4x100. You cannot have those slip-ups, baton slip-ups, false starts, all those things that cannot happen in that race, and that's what you need. Brian, this has been good. We always talk basketball. It is good to talk track with you on here. I hope we talk some more throughout these games because you are a track guru, and we'll see how Team USA does in track and field. Should be fun. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely. We got to chop it up again. We definitely will. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. That is Brian Lewis, reporter for the New York Post. You know him for the Brooklyn Nets, but this man also knows track and field as good as anyone. Thanks again, Brian. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.